Do you have any concerns about the length of the deal and the cap hit? Like, he's going to be 37 when it runs out?
Yes, he's going to be 37. Yeah, but I don't care because Chris Drury shouldn't be operating thinking that he's going to be there in 8 years.
I think I would just remove the I'm not worried about it.
The New York Rangers, because Pete, as you said, we reacted quickly and swiftly to this Trouba trade, which kind of shocked us given that they didn't have to staple a pick to him. In fact, they got a conditional 4th-round pick back and Urho Vakanainen in that deal. What did Chris Drury do right afterwards? He turns around and he gives Igor Shesterkin an 8-year, $92 million deal, the richest contract. Would it technically be the richest contract for a goalie in NHL history?
Yeah.
Because DiPietro, he went about 400 years. His contract may have been... Could you check the total money on DiPietro? This is important. To see if it's the most money given to a New York goaltender, even.
15 years, $67.5 million. So, yes, richest.
Suck it, Ricky.
Yeah.
Not even close. Igor gets the richest contract for a goalie in NHL history. I was going to say the headline is that $85 million is in signing bonuses and then it gets a full new no-move clause. The headline is that they signed Igor Shesterkin to this huge-ass contract and that they have now solved 2 of their quote-unquote problems. Rangers in business?
No.
Yeah, they're still losing. They gave up
a touchdown to the Seattle Kraken. Tough scene. I mean, Igor obviously is the biggest part of that team, and keeping him around is very good news. But like, that guy is on the firing line right now. That team cannot defend. It is brutal. I'm honestly like kind of surprised that you're not talking about a number that begins with 12. So like, I genuinely think that this is obviously a whopper of a deal. I think it might be like a good value for Igor. And I'm famously not of the pay the goaltenders everything you got, even though they're the most important players, because it's so volatile. But if you're going to give anybody the bag, you're giving Igor the bag.
My take on goalie contracts typically is I like to find little shortcuts. I like to find, and my favorite shortcut is hasn't done it or is inconsistent. Because if you can get goalies who play well on better numbers. I don't want to get into the would you rather because Shesterkin is the best.
Yeah,
so you should rather Shesterkin. But the other guys who have signed recently, Jake Ottinger and Jeremy Swayman, I'm way more Swayman than I am Ottinger, even if Swayman hasn't had the best year. Those guys come in at $8.5 million. There are other goalies that we've talked about that are a little more chaotic, a little less consistent, that when they sign their deals, I think probably end up coming in the $6 million-ish range. Depending on the layout of your team, if you have multiple guys who are like, so like say Edmonton is the obvious example because they've got Skinner, but then they've got McDavid's going to make so much. Draisaitl makes $14 million. You can't have the best goalie in the league, and you need to hope that you have a chaotic goalie who is good. The Bruins, in their case, they don't have anybody making $14 million, but they clearly don't want a goalie making a ton of money because of how much they dragged out the Jeremy Swayman situation. Same deal with the Stars. They don't have anybody making $12, $13, $14 million a year. In the case of the Rangers, like where Panarin is in his career, who is the guy that's going to be making $14, $15 million a year? He's not on their roster, so might as well make the identity of your team. We have Igor Shesterkin and figure everything else out.
Yeah, I think, well, you brought it up at the beginning of that point, but like, would you rather, if you're building a team, would you rather have Igor at 11.5, or would you rather have like any one of the guys who signed the 8.5 deal? So, like you got Ottinger, Swayman, Ullmark. Like, would you take any one of those over Igor to save the $3 million?
Love you, Rangers fans. I would rather have Igor Shesterkin as a player, but I would definitely rather have the goalie that's making $8.5 million who could outplay Igor Shesterkin in a series. Who I don't expect to, but
I get what you're saying, but I think that I disagree because I don't think that, like, I get that the gap could be smaller and maybe in some circumstances, like a guy like Swayman or Ottinger could outplay Igor in a playoff series. But I don't think that the player that you're getting for $3 million in 2024 is worth that gamble.
Right. So it's not the $3 million player for me. It's the $9 million player versus the $12 million player. Whenever I think of that gap, and I don't know why my brain thinks this way, but I just think of like how much can you end up paying your superstars? Is there going to be a summer where you go in and instead of $6 million in cap space, you have $9 million where you can add like a real player potentially? But I'm not mad at the Rangers for this deal at all. Like, I don't want to come off as like anti-Rangers on this. I think that what they were able to do, freeing up the Trouba space and solving the Shesterkin dilemma, I think should hopefully clear up a lot of the confusion in players' brains. Like, when there's something that's hanging over a team, it's, in recent memory, it's either one of the best players is coming up on a new contract, or are we still going to play in Arizona? And in the case of the latter, Sean Durzi has admitted to, like, that thing was tough to focus on hockey with all that going on. And I've definitely talked to players where they've been on teams where you don't know if the best player is going to be there the next year. And that's a thing because you're like, there's so many directions in which this could go. The Rangers have done a good job of tidying up their concerns. So good job, Chris Drury, obviously on moving the Trouba contract and solving the Shesterkin thing. So you have high marks.
Do you have any concerns about the length of the deal and the cap hit? Like, he's going to be 37 when it runs out?
Yes, he's going to be 37. Yeah, but I don't care because Chris Drury shouldn't be operating thinking that he's going to be there in 8 years.
I think I would just remove I'm not worried about it. Like, goaltending, we've seen. If you're a great goaltender, your longevity is longer than an average skater, for sure. Like, we talk about Bobrovsky and the length of that deal and people worrying about, man, this could be horrible. Like, by the end of the deal when he's in his late 30s. I mean, that deal has only looked good. Yeah, towards the later years. The early half of it,
that was the bad one. Exactly. That was the bad part.
Yeah, that was the bad part of the contract. And I mean, Bobrovsky gave you less security when he signed the deal. Like, he had some bad years or bad stretches when he signed that deal in Florida, and you were like, man, this guy, I'm not even sure he's good right now. So Igor is the exception to the rule for me in terms of, like, give that guy all the money.
And the Rangers now, with all these moves, they're projected to have $16.4 million in cap space next season if the cap doesn't move, and they've got Ryan Lindgren to sign. And if I were the Rangers, I would sign Ryan Lindgren back. I think that's like a, I would say, lowercase I identity.
Yeah, I mean,
type of player.
It depends on the contract that you give him.
Makes $4.5 million now. He wants $31 million a year. I'm kidding. He wants the dry side.
If he was like, I want to be signed for 5 years, I'd be like, buddy, you die every game. Your body is not going to hold up.
But that's part of the Rangers thing that I want them to keep. I want them to. You can't lose Trouba and Ryan Lindgren. Sign Ryan Lindgren back, and we'll be happy with you. They've lost 7 of 9. Things not going great for them, but maybe it turns around now that they have a little more clarity. Do need to shout out the Ducks who acquired Jacob Trouba in that deal, just for the video they put out right away. We didn't have time to talk about it when we reacted to the deal on Friday, but they got Jacob Trouba and then put out a tweet that was like, hell yeah, this is us now. And it was just stock rock music playing while Jacob Trouba and Radko Gudas killed people. Awesome.
It was legitimate. Like, people were talking about Gudas and Trouba playing together, being like, no head, no chin is safe. And the Ducks were like, you're fucking right.
You got that right.
Yeah, it's amazing.
I think they made that move just so they could put out that video.
I love it. I mean,
someone there got stoned and was like, imagine if we had both of these guys. And then they made that video, pitched it to the front office, and was like Mad Men style, like, we got another guy who kills people.
You said, you don't want the Rangers to lose their identity of, like, Ryan Lindgren getting killed every game. I like that the Ducks now have an identity, and it's, we got a bunch of shitheads on offense and we got a bunch of murderers on defense. What are you going to do about it?
Well, we didn't even talk about what's life going to be like for Trevor Zegras, who isn't going to be on the ice much anyway, but what's life going to be like for him just in practice? Trouba going to like that?
No.
I don't think Trouba's going to like
I
that.
don't think so.
And this is Trouba's team now. I'm becoming a Trouba guy through all this. I kind of stayed out on whose side I was picking in all that because I definitely understood and respected Jacob Trouba's, especially as a captain of a team. I thought it was, no, I don't know if noble's the right word. It was unusual to be like, my family is my number one priority, and if you try to push back on that at all, fuck you. Mm-hmm. It's just not typical behavior from a captain, but I didn't hate it.
Yeah. Do we want to show the video of him talking about the Chris Drury threatening to waive him if he didn't move?
That was good stuff.
Yeah, play that, Sean, because I think it's a pretty good video.
I'm curious, just when did you kind of get approached by the organization about these trade talks? Like, when did these conversations start in terms of like trying to figure out how to get you to Anaheim or any other place?
Yesterday morning was accept this trade or we're scratching you. I said, okay. And then it was accept this trade or you're going on waivers. And I said, okay.
Yeah.
And then it got to a point where I felt comfortable with Anaheim, and that was the place I wanted to go. And I guess you could say I'm thankful that they made that happen. But yeah, I mean, unfortunate, I think how it all happened. And I don't know, it's kind of it's a rite of passage to get fired from MSG.
Yeah.
So don't let the smile at the end of that video trick you. The best part of that is that his resting face was just like,
yeah, he's pissed.
He's unhappy.
So unhappy.
Like, that is what his face is just. wait, can you can you slide up a little bit? Like, it gets even better, I believe. Yeah, yeah.
There it is. Yep. That's the resting Trouba face. He is so mad. And I think he's being a little bit of a baby about it, but I like it because I want him to be so mad and I want him to be revenge Trouba.
Yeah, I don't care if it's warranted or like, I'm not picking a side in the Trouba versus Rangers thing because quite frankly, I'm just not in a rush to be on either side.
My overall stance on it is like, nobody operated outside of the rules, and he hasn't been a good player. We can all be honest. Like, I hope that he's a good player in Anaheim. Hasn't been a good player. And I think that the Rangers just got to a point where they're like, got to figure this out, got to fix this situation. And they did really well. We talked about it in the video that we put out. Chris Drury, awesome job, not retaining any money, not having to eat any picks or anything to ship him out of town. Like, I have no problem with what the Rangers did. I just want now the Ducks to create a content series that's Jacob Trouba and Radko Gudas running around that building, like stuffing their young players in lockers.
We all silly like the mayor.